Hello and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I am your host, Matt Rossi. With me this week are my fantastic co-hosts, Liz Harper and Joe Perez. Joe has shoes and he's not afraid to throw them, and Liz has signed herself up to run an entire game that doesn't make any sense.
That's right.
Let's just go right into some top stories. We're going to do some, and then there's other things to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. It's the second week of the War Within, which by itself is pretty amazing. I think this honestly has been one of my favorite expansions to play. Just straight up, I've been having a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah.
But now, today, as we are recording it, Season 1 for The War Within has started, which means a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just going to read through a bunch of it, and basically I'm gonna read through a thing and then see if either of you guys have something you want to say about it, and then we'll move to the next one. First up, Nerubar Palace, normal and heroic difficulties, and Rainfinder Wing 1 is today. You guys are going to be rating that this week or next week or what?
Tomorrow, actually.
What are your thoughts on that?
I personally am excited.
I'm very interested.
I've been really looking for. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've really enjoyed it. I really enjoy my healing spec this time around. I struggled with Identity Crisis last expansion with ebbs and flows. This one, I just feel stupidly powerful, like I am the arbiter of life and death, which is exactly where I want to be because it means that I have cool tools that make me feel engaged. So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Cool. Liz, anything in terms of your character anything that you'd like to say about how you're feeling going into it?
I think the most interesting thing about Season 1 is the fact that Raidfinder Wing 1 is open today. Usually Blizzard really pushes Raidfinder out a couple of weeks after the actual launch, and then it'll be 2 weeks between each wing. And here we have Wingfinder. Yeah. Now we're all stuck. Raidfinder Wing 1 is open the same day normal and heroic are. Wing 2 is open next week with Mythic. Wing 3 is open the week after that. So this is this seems kind of revolutionary to me because it's like every character, whether you're raiding or not, every character can go in and experience this new content because we know there's going to be some story happening in here. Yep.
So we'll also mention this next part, just something it's actually listed a little bit further down, but I'm going to throw it in there anyway. Story mode is opening in like 2 weeks. So next week, sorry. So you'll actually be able to run the raid in story mode, which just means basically you go in and you get to see, some story stuff. I don't know, I still don't know whether or not you get loot. I mean, I tried finding out. I'm sure it's in one of the things I read, but I just missed it. I have no idea if you get any loot for doing this. If it's just basically like running it as a big scenario or like a delve, I don't know. But I do know that it's there. It's something they're going to be doing, and I think that's pretty cool. Just for people who really don't care at all about the gear and just want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice concession. It's basically like when back in the day there'd be like a weird thing in Dalaran where you would click on it and get to see the cinematic for the last fight. Except now it's not. First off, Dalaran isn't there, so you can't go click anything. Okay, it's been 2 weeks. It's everywhere. It's not spoilers anymore, guys. People know Dalaran had an oopsie. Dalaran has an oopsie every so often, and then it's rebuilt in the next thing anyway.
Yeah,
they did that in Warcraft 3. They did that in Warcraft 3. Then they did that in, I think, Wrath of the Lich King. And then they brought it back for Legion. And, yeah, Dalaran will be fine. Dalaran will walk it off. It'll be fine. It'll just, okay, yeah, all right, I'm good now. We're turning it into a submarine city. So now it just comes up from the water and then sinks back down under it. That way it can't fall as much. It's because it's bobbing in the ocean. It's made of cork now, so it's very floaty. But we also have Mythic Zero dungeons and the heroic seasonal dungeons are coming today. Essentially, as we're talking, those are both out now. So you can run Mythic Zero already, and you can run just the seasonal dungeon for heroics, which is basically all the dungeons, right? It's all the new War Within dungeons are now available on heroic.
You could already run the War Within dungeons on heroic, but what this does is it adds the Mythic dungeon rotation into the heroic rotation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's the Mythic rotation for Season 1 is Arakaris, City of Echoes, the City of Threads, the Stone Vault, the Dawnbreaker. All of those are War Within dungeons. But then also Mists of Tyrannus Scythe, the Necrotic Wake, Siege of Borealis, and Grim Batal. All of those you will now be able to run in the War Within heroic difficulty, which makes it a nice stepping stone. So you can do some heroic, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to do the same thing in Mythic instead of just having it on Mythic. But, I mean, I know some people are also not super happy about this because when they're running heroics, they just like to stick to the War Within heroics. And now you've got these other things in the heroic pool, which maybe you don't want to go back to Siege of Borealis. Maybe you don't want to. I understand. I don't want to go back either. This is unfortunately what we got.
See, I'd be much more along the lines of you, but I just spent literally 2 days running Uldir over and over again to get transmog looks, and I got the sword off of the next to last boss. So I was like, yes, and then I went and ran it on heroic, and I got it again. I'm like, yes, now I have the better color. And then so I didn't get a chance to run it on Mythic and get the even better color, but I then went and ran the Dazaralor. Oof, wow, brain wouldn't do that. I went and ran Dazaralor as well, and man, Dazaralor, there is a terrible raid that I hate with everything in me. I do not like that raid, Sam. I am. Part of the reason I don't like it is because of the part where, whether you're Horde or Alliance, you come to a point where you suddenly switch viewpoints. Do Horde, when they get there, do you start as Horde and then switch to Alliance, or do you start as Alliance and then switch to Horde?
Start as Horde and switch to Alliance.
Okay.
Everyone starts as their faction. Like the first 2 or 3 fights are just you are playing you, and then you switch over.
I think it's got to be at least 4 fights because I went from there's 2 fights up the ball. There's 2 fights before you get to the giant pile of gold coins. Opulence, you do Opulence, then there's something else that does not stick to my head. But then you finally get to the King Rastakhan fight. And after the Rastakhan is when it switches. So I think it's 4, then 3.
The way it is there's I think 3 fights at the very beginning that are the same, that are kind of the same, whether you're Alliance or Horde. You go into those fights and you do them. And story-wise, wow, we've gotten off track. Anyway, first few fights are just you play as your faction. And then there are several fights you play as Alliance, and then several fights you play as Horde. No matter what your faction is, or vice versa. I forget what the order is.
I gotta give credit. They swung.
It's a 3x play here.
That raid really could do some really weird stuff. That's one of the reasons I'm actually curious to see what they do with raids in this expansion. I am interested to see what weird mechanics they throw at us, and what strange narrative devices they use. Especially since we're not going to get to the really big deal until I don't know, 2nd or 3rd tier of raiding. Depending on what we have for it. But yeah. Also, I'm happy to see Grim Batal back as a dungeon, because this is the expansion where Grim Batal should be back as a dungeon.
Yeah, I was muted and I was agreeing with you. So I 100% it. If it was going to come back, this is where it needed to come back.
Absolutely. This is the one it's that person that's kind of the bad guy of this whole thing. This is what she made happen when she was just a knife. I'm just a knife. I just want to stab you. So yeah, sorry. But we've got that coming up. We also have new world bosses. I think this week's world boss is Kordak, the Dormant Protector. Then we have the Aggregation of Horrors, which is...
sounds like a very friendly person. Yeah. I'm sure they're going to be great.
Although,
we're going to be buddies.
Fair, there's then the next up after that is Shurai, Atrocity of the Undersea.
Also sounds fine.
And then finally, Orta, the Broken Mountain. Orta the Broken Mountain sounds like a straight up UCW wrestling character. I can imagine Orta cutting a promo. But regardless,
you're not wrong.
We're gonna have those world bosses.
And also, I want to note the world boss is going to be a rotation exactly like it was in Dragonflight. So there's a world boss for each zone, and they're going to rotate weekly.
So you just go ahead and fly to that zone looking for the giant thing to punch, basically. And then, swarm it, and hopefully you get it killed before it kills you. The excitement of world bosses. I have not even looked for one yet. I've been so busy doing other things. In fact, let's talk about one of those things. Delves. We now have tier 4 and up on delves. It's no longer limited to the first 3 tiers of delving. You can delve harder, I guess. You would use it. Sounds kind of weird, but the note here makes me. Great thing about doing these documents is that I do some, Liz does some, Joe does some. Liz puts in Delve's Tier 4 Plus, which now drop Undercoin. Mitch explained to me that this is Delve Coin. So I'm like, it's like Dogecoin, Dogecoin, but with like delving.
Dogecoin.
Is it like a Shiba Inu with like a delve in its mouth, or like where are we going?
No, that's. I was gonna say that's Silent Hill 2, the Shiba Inu.
Oh, okay.
It would be stamped with Bran Bronzebeard's face, obviously, because he's our Delvin buddy right now.
You said that, and I immediately imagined literally stamping his face into something. Like, ouch, champion! That was quite annoying. But,
I do have to give Bran credit, because you'll be going through delves and you'll get hurt, and he'll say, stop and take a rest, and you're like, and he throws up a campfire with some food, and you sit down and you restore your health and mana. I'm like, wow, yeah, this is actually, thank you for suggesting we take a break. I really needed this.
Yeah, you can tell. That's how you can tell he's not a real human being.
He can make a campfire anywhere, even in those underwater delves.
I just mean the idea that you're in a dungeon type scenario with somebody, and he's like, "Oh no, take your time." that is not a human being. That is a machine. That's like the first time you played Fallout 76, and they were like, "Yes, any human you meet is going to be a human player." I was like, "Yeah, I know, because they're all maniacs, each and every one of them." But regardless, delves have been like, I've loved delves. I think they're great.
Oh, yeah.
I have been running the heck out of them. I've gotten relatively little from them just because I have not been getting lucky with drops, but I do love them. I'm looking forward to finally getting my Brian Bronzium and seeing what I can do with it. What do we actually get to spend this on? This is the thing.
You can go to Sir Finley in Dornegal and buy things like new schematics for your dirigible, or buy useful things like restored coffer keys. So there's some cosmetic things, and there are a few useful things.
All right, cool. Next, PvP Season 1, that had happened. If you know what a PvP season in WoW is, the same thing. It's that again. There's going to be skirmishes. There's going to be arena stuff. There's going to be ranked battlegrounds. The usual. Things. They have not added pretty much anything new to this. It is exactly the same as it has been for at least the last 2 expansions, I want to say. Definitely the way it was in Dragonflight. And Dragonflight was pretty much the same as the end of Shadowlands in terms of how its PvP worked. So yeah, not much to say about this. Unless Joe or Liz, you have something new to say about that before we move on?
Mm-mm.
I feel like I'm trying to go really fast. All right. Then September 17th, Liz already pointed out, we're getting Wingfinder Raid 2. Sorry, I'm just keeping it going.
We're in trouble now.
I'm doing it on purpose to get my brain to stop doing it, because once my brain realizes that I think it's funny, it won't keep going. It's like, it's less good if he's actually enjoying it. But yeah, we've got Raid Finder Wing 2. We're also going to get Mythic difficulty for Nerub, our palace, and the story mode that we talked about just a little while ago. Liz mentioned that it is next week. Yes, the 17th. And that's where we get the Mythic Plus, Mythic Plus dungeon rotation that was mentioned before. That's all coming next week on the 17th. And finally, go ahead, Liz.
So today you can run Mythic 0, but next week you can run Mythic Plus for all those horribly harder dungeons that you all love.
From what I understand, the way this works is it's using the same rebalanced Mythic system that we got at the end of Dragonflight.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And theoretically, although you probably won't be able to do it, you could push it all the way up to Mythic 10 or what have you. You could get up there if you. I
already know that members of my guild are going to be pushing it. I can see them prepping for it. I'm looking at you, Ado.
So there is this is basically once next week rolls around, the full Mythic Plus functionality is available to you. It's up to you at that point how far you get. But then the week after that, on the 24th, that's when Raid Finder Wing 3 unlocks. So you get all of the raid content possible in every difficulty level by the end of the month. So within 3 weeks, you will have access to everything, which is a pretty fast unlock schedule. we already now, there's also patch 11.0.5, which is the 20th anniversary event, and then, a few other things, but mostly it's the 20th anniversary event. We're getting the new Drakthir classes. Is that official confirmation for that patch?
Yeah, it's coming in 11.0.5. Yeah.
And so basically, from what I understand, and from hopping on the PTR a little bit, Drakthir can be everybody that you don't have to have a special lore explanation for what they are. So they can't be monks or demon hunters.
Or Death Knights.
So
they could be Death Knights.
So the official classes they can be is warrior, hunter, rogue, priest, mage, and warlock, and of course evokers. You can still be an evoker if you want to, but now you can also be these other things.
And
so kind of the basic classes here. Only
one I'm a little surprised they can't get is shaman.
I'm not. It's sort of antithetical to how they view the world.
Yeah, but they can be warlocks, man.
Warlocks are a known quantity. They were made to fight essentially the forces of darkness. Like that's something that they probably would have been taught a little bit more about. Plus, it's close to arcane.
Regardless, I did think that's one of the reasons I liked Earthen. I got my Earthen unlocked this week, by the way. In fact, I did it before the reset even. I know other people had done it before now, but I'm still proud because I got it done despite playing 3 days late. I rolled my Earthen and saw that they could basically play everything except like Death Knights, Demon Hunters, monks, but they can play Shaman, which is pretty nice.
Their totems are really cool.
Yes, they are. It's a weird intro because it's halfway between the monk intro and the Death Knight original intro.
Mm-hmm.
Not the current one where you just show up and he makes you a death. But the original one. It's kind of complex, but not really that complex. It's just like, oh, go do this, and then okay, you've done it. You've punched a robot. Now go out and just explore the world. And so yeah, that's got nothing to do with the Drakthir. It just made me jump there. The Drakthir, as warriors and so forth. I'm a little disappointed that you can't beef up the body type any. Like for warriors, I think a Draconid style form would look a lot better for them. Like
you do have some body type options, but you can't go like all the way up to like a Draconoid kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like that was a missed opportunity. But nevertheless, I'm still pretty excited. One of the reasons I was disappointed for these guys when they first came out back in Dragonflight was that I don't have any interest in playing an Evoker. I played one in the beta, and I thought, wow, this class is so good that it should never be released. They should never let anyone play this. People who play this, they're going to be like really unhappy when they have to go back to the other classes. And it wasn't quite that bad, but it was pretty bad for a while there. So go ahead, Liz. I'm sorry.
There is one other thing that Drakthir are getting in this patch, which is they're getting a special skywriting talent that will let you, when you use Soar, which is your ability that lets you fly, when you use that, you can summon a squadron of your fellow Drakthir to fly with, just as this ridiculously cool cosmetic option where you're just like, I need to fly over here.
The weird part is when Kenny Loggins starts playing.
I'm just going to summon a squad of my buddies to come with me.
Why does he keep saying out into the danger zone? I don't understand. He's just flying. It's fine. But yeah, that's all happening. We're getting the Drakthir as a multiple races, no longer just one class type thing. They now can do all sorts of stuff. And there's a lot of other stuff to talk about for the 20th anniversary. It's going to be 2 months.
Yeah.
And people are saying they think it's going to be releasing on like the end of October.
I mean, we're saying that.
Yes.
Our guess for the release date is October 29th because Blizzard has said that the anniversary event is going to run for all of November and December. So that does kind of tell us when we're going to get patch 1105 and also when we're going to get patch 1107. Probably not too long after the new year because Blizzard has told us that the anniversary event, that's a patch cycle. The anniversary is going to be a whole patch cycle. It's a minor patch, but still.
So it's also going to be taking up the entire 2-month period, which means that you'll have more chances to do the various things in the anniversary. Did we mention that they have the remastered tier 2 skins for the anniversary?
We did not mention any of this. This is all new.
Okay. So yeah, Joe, are you excited to see the Shaman tier 2 come back?
I mean, I am. I've been rocking it for many years. I'm very interested to see how the model looks on my current character, and kind of, just have it, because it's a piece of iconic history as far as I'm concerned.
Plus, it's one of the most original. Pretty much all the tier 2s were pretty original at the time. Like they departed from like other gear in the game looked like Valor, like the various dungeons, tier 0.5. That stuff had a kind of specific look, but that was very World of Warcrafty. And then the stuff from Molten Core all sort of looked. I mean, it looked individual and unique, but it was a lot of people got Molten Core down. A lot of people were running Molten Core. You saw a lot of the Molten Core gear. I remember it took people quite a while to get Nefarian down. And the tier 2 pieces looked really cool and interesting to people. You just didn't see them very often. Like, for instance, as a warrior, you were wearing 2 axes on your shoulders and another axe on the top of your head. And you just walked around like that. Like, hey, I have axes. In case I go to a mosh pit, I can still kill you. Obviously, the Paladin set is pretty iconic. Everybody knows the Paladin set.
I mean, yeah, and the problem with the Paladin set is that it's pretty iconic, We had, I mean, all of the tier 2 sets are really interesting. Some of them are a little, they made choices, like you're saying, the warrior with the axes and hunters and their weird obsession with the color purple, which is now much more lavender in tone in the new revamped set, which is a little confusing to me. But it's like Paladin Judgment. Problem with Judgment is it came out and it was just so cool. It was so cool that everyone was wearing it. And then, Transmog showed up and everyone was wearing it.
Paladin
and
had,
then
every Paladin had
and,
it. Yep.
And then Blizzard released recolors of it and everyone was wearing it. And then there were more recolors. And so that's the problem with Judgment. You can't, it's such an iconic look that it's a look that everyone has used and everyone will definitely be using after this event, during this event. And so I don't know if I want to say it's a little less cool, but also I don't want to look like everybody else. I don't want to be just another Paladin wearing Judgment. So, on one hand,
wear Judgment, you want to stand in Judgment. Understand?
I really want to judge people, not to judge people and their repetitive armor looks, not necessarily wear the same armor that everyone else is wearing, even if it's really cool looking armor. No, I gotta be me. Me is not looking exactly like all of you peons surrounding me. I have standards.
I do not. But yeah, that's go ahead.
There is one thing we should note about the tier 2 sets. Obviously, there are some classes that did not exist when tier 2 was a thing.
That's where I was going. Go for it. Tell us about that.
Well, okay, we're both going the same direction then. That's always good. So, yes, there are new sets for Death Knights, Demon Hunters, Monks, and Evokers, inspired by kind of classic looks from NPCs and other characters. So Death Knights have an Arthas-looking set. Evokers have a set that's inspired by Nefarian and Blackwing Lair. Monks, I have no idea where their set concept came from, but it looks really cool. And Death Knights, I guess, Demon Hunters, I guess it's a thing. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Demon Hunters, but everyone else has some cool armor.
Yeah, I remember being surprised when I first saw the new Death Knight one, because, I mean, if you were playing back in Wrath, you remember that they had to put a Death Knight helmet in for the revamped Onyxia, because Onyxia came back as an anniversary event, and she dropped new up-resed models of all the various hats that she dropped. And of course, at that time, the only new class was Death Knights. So Death Knights were the only ones who got an up-res model that they didn't have before. So they created a helmet specifically for them, and that look has not been recreated. This look is completely different. Now that I think about it, I'm not surprised by that. But I was at the time that I saw it. I was like, wait a minute, didn't they already have a helmet? Why didn't you just base the rest of the set off that? I was like, because, Matt, the Death Knight helmet was bad. And this thing, it looks like ridiculously amazing and quite frankly, a little too good. But regardless, yeah. I honestly, my takeaway for best up glow, like best glow up ever, is the Storm Rage Raiment, the Druid set. Because, man, they matched all the colors really well. They did a colors pass, and sometimes that came up with some weirdness, like Liz pointed out with the slightly lavender or mauve dragon stalker. But the Storm Rage Raiment looks really, really solid. It's a really good color updo. I'm very happy about it. And I won't be getting it because I don't play it. I mean, I do, but my druid's like level 12 at this point. I don't even know what level my druid is anymore because they've crushed levels, and I don't remember what level I was in the first place. But yeah, a lot of stuff happening for patch 11.0.5. And finally, I don't know how to feel about this one. If you've got $20 to spend and you'd like to buy a new mount, there's a new mount in the store that allows you to essentially get both repair and transmog at the same time, and it's a bear.
It's a bear.
It is a very. It's also a very happy-go-lucky, friendly-looking bear. Like it's got a very soft mouth.
It's a helper. It's a helper.
Hello, I help you get dressed. Oh no, that look horrible on you. No. We fix. Like, please, that's not a helmet. Please stop trying to put that on my head. It'll go great. You see. So yeah. By the way, that's apparently what I think bears sound like. I live in bear country, so you have to trust me.
I've never talked to a bear, so maybe that's what they sound like.
Yeah. Until the moment you hear the terrifying roar, you can keep believing me.
I do have a couple of other anniversary things I want to bring up.
Okay.
Which is, I think, the really interesting one is we're going back to Blackrock Depths. And, you know...
Yeah.
In the live stream announcing that, they were like, everyone fondly remembers Blackrock Depths. And I was like... Though, is it like with the distance of 20 years that people are now fondly remembering Blackrock Depths? Because I mostly remember spending, 6 hours wiping and then the group disbanding before getting to the final boss because it was one of those dungeons.
I have horrible memories of the Grim Guzzler and how many times that turned into an utter fragus. Or that weird room full of like golem parts that you constantly had to try to fight your way down because like one person would have a quest to go do that, and the reward was a decent trinket, so you had to do it, but it was the most horrible slog imaginable. Or the whole bit where you had to do the alliance quest where you free that guy and he's just going to go get himself killed with an Ixia anyway, but you still got to do it. So I have mixed memories of this, and especially the fact that I said this the other day. I was like, Moira Thorson is talking to your character while you're playing The War Within, and I kept thinking, hey, and we're going to get to relive that time I killed your husband. Remember that? Remember that, Moira? Yeah. I killed your husband. What you probably don't remember is those times I accidentally killed you before someone pointed out, oh no, don't kill Moira. I'm like, oh, okay. But she was doing stuff. Usually I kill things and they do stuff. No, don't kill Moira. Oh, all right.
This is going to be a 10 to 15 player raid with 8 bosses and 5 mini bosses. And it will be available in LFR, normal, and heroic difficulties. And I'm just hoping to clear this without the guild falling apart, because that seems to be what Blackrock Depths does. It crushes the spirit.
I can't wait to find out that they're going to bring back the original layout for Sunken Temple and make that into a 5 to 15 player raid. And we're for the next anniversary, and we're just going to keep throwing dungeons that were just, remember the original, like this original room in Stratholme where you couldn't pull anything out and you'd constantly get the entire room charging you. Yes. Now experience that with 14 other people in Raid Finder. Yikes. I think that Blackrock Depths is one of the more ambitious and outright cool looking dungeons ever made.
It's true. Because
Joe, you probably healed on it, right?
I've healed everything this game has to offer.
So the first few times you healed in Blackrock Depths, the fact that the lines of sight were so weird and wonky, that didn't cause like the person you're trying to heal to die a lot, did it? Not
back then. So that dungeon, for as old as it is, has better line of sight than most of the newer ones. Not saying that there weren't some rocks of impenetrable gaze or anything like that, but like you notice that there's ramps, not stairs, which means that those ramps generally mean that somebody standing on it doesn't block healing that gets done to them. Last night I think we were running. I forgot which one we were running. I had to gently remind people not to stand on stairs of one of the newer dungeons because it like screws up like target seeking. So it wasn't bad. Definitely wasn't bad. It was a very good dungeon. It was just very long back in the day.
Yes, extremely. And I mean, it had a lot of different types of encounters and challenges, which was really interesting because it did show a wide variety of design and boss design and counter design all in one place. But it was also huge. Maybe it actually makes more sense as a raid in the modern context because of its size. It has such a massive scope. And if you're trying to run a dungeon, it just turned into this horrifically long run.
To be fair, it was created during the time frame of what were originally raids, because don't forget, like, Upper Blackrock Spire and Strathholm and Skolomance.
Both Blackrock Spires, actually, LBRS and UBRS.
I thought, you know what, you're right, yeah. But they were all raids. They weren't dungeons.
They were dungeons, but you could go up to 15 people. Originally 15.
Yeah.
Like, you could originally bring 15 to those. Then they dropped it to 10 right around the time that they rebalanced Skolo to make that. They actually think they made Skolo the 10-1 first, and then they brought everything else to that level. But I remember that because I had the ring, so I could unlock Upper Blackrock Spire. And in of itself, this would be an excursion down memory lane for people. So I'm gonna just talk. I'm just gonna ignore the explanation and say that I had said ring. So literally, I was the arbiter of who got to do what, because if at any point we wiped and had to run back, if I wasn't there with my ring, the place wouldn't stay unlocked. So they literally had to have me. And if I decided we were doing something like, say, getting the priest set. The one, there's a preset piece, but you had to do some really ridiculous things to get it. If I said we were doing it, we were doing it. And keep in mind that people would actually try, if their priest was a healer and they were trying to get it, people would try to get rid of that healer. That's how much they didn't want to do it. What was it called? Father Flame? Whatever the event was called. People would really try very hard not to do it. They were definitely not interested. But if I had that ring, man, and people never seem to learn. They never seem to be like, hey, if I had the ring, then he couldn't be blackmailing me like this. Because I don't know about if you guys tried it on Alliance side, but on Horde side, that quest required you to run all over creation 6 times. Like you were going to be traipsing. There was a lot of traipsing. You went back and forth to Rexar, and Rexar moves around Desolus. He doesn't stay in one spot. He's constantly rotating around that place. So you got to find him somewhere in Desolus, wandering around with his bear. And you have to do that like 4 or 5 times. And that was just the start of how ridiculous and elaborate this whole thing was. That was one of the quest lines where at the end of it, when I played on my Tauren, I was literally begging the quest to end. I was like, please just stop. Please, I can't go back to the Plague Lands anymore. I've been to the Plague Lands 5 times. Please, just let's just have the final part. Please. I just want my ring again. So yeah. Anyway, I don't think you're going to have to do that for the new raid. So, count yourself lucky, man. Although, God, part of me would just love it if they put that quest back in for the anniversary. You'll be doing the entire quest to get the ring. You're like, oh God, no. Is there anything else, Liz? Because you've been busting out tidbits.
And there is so much to this event. I mean, there's a reason we have a whole patch for it. There's also a new Codex of Chromie event, which sounds like we may be going back to the gates of Anchorage.
Yeah.
And hopefully not collecting like 1 million pieces of linen, but we'll see. It sounds like there are going to be a lot of weird random bosses, mismatched showing up. Korax Revenge is coming back. We are also getting Vanilla Dungeon Time Walking. So you can go back and do the original vanilla dungeons, Dead Mines, Dire Maul, Strathholm, and Zul'Farrak, all available as time walking dungeons. And while they are going to be added with the anniversary event, they're going to stick around after in the normal time walking rotation. So they'll keep popping up in case you want to go back to ye old Dead Mines.
I believe also they're going to have world bosses, which means you're going to get the Dragons of Nightmare, the Zergos, Kizak, and then the Shah of Anger and Archivon, the Stonewatcher, are also going to be showing up in Tanaris.
Yes. So it's like we got old world bosses, we've got new old world bosses. Like this is a big event.
Yeah, I mean, as it should be for the 20th anniversary of this game. So.
Exactly. We deserve an event. We deserve a big event. We didn't get invited to Lorthamar and Thalrister's wedding, so we deserve the biggest party ever. That's what I'm saying. Here's a question for both of you. Maybe one of you knows this. Do we know when the Shaman's Ascendance form update is coming? Like, when will we actually have it?
It's supposed to be with the anniversary.
Okay. What do you think of that?
Patch 11.0.5.
What do you think of those new forms, Joe?
Give it to me.
Okay, so he wants you to put that directly in his veins. That's cool.
No, I really like it. Go ahead.
Tell us what it looks like and what you like about it.
So the old version is essentially the elemental corrupted lords from the Twilight cult, and I never really liked those. Mostly because it was only ever used as an enemy model. It was never unique. And it just kind of just felt like whatever. This one, though, it actually changes based off of the spec you have, where it looks like that, but amped to 11, where you have like elemental flowing hair and you look like you are actually like almost like invoking the elements through you versus, well, I'm a rock guy now and I have slightly different colored veins inside of the rocks. So I really like it. It's a lot more dynamic. The motions on it look cool. You also like hover in air and kind of float around a little bit as opposed to just like being wide stance and almost like T-posing on the ground. So like that's really cool too. It's just a lot more dynamic in general. And if I had to hazard a guess, and I haven't seen this in person yet, but if you happen to have like video cards that are capable of doing really cool light stuff, I have a feeling like the other lighting in the game, it's going to look really cool around you whenever it procs or you pop that cooldown. So I'm really, really excited for it.
And that is pretty awesome. So Liz, anything else?
I think we pretty much covered it, except just the party itself is going to be bigger. It will have a mini Trial of Style event. It will have story time with Lore Walker Cho. It will have balloons, 20th anniversary balloons that you can get, which sound ridiculous. There's a pet corner where you can turn into your pets and run around. Sounds totally normal and fine. There's costumes for cosplay you can pick up at the event. There's an ice rink with ice physics because we all love ice physics at a party. Maybe.
I prefer them at a party to when they had me fighting a giant spider with them.
Listen, if they had it for they had it for the giant spider, and they have to make sure that it doesn't go to waste. I'd rather have it in this type of environment than in a raid environment. When with Matt on this one.
And
I did not like the spider ice combination. It wasn't one of my favorites.
No one did.
I'm perfectly happy to be done with that.
And there's also going to be a guest relations desk that you can check into, and there's a little kind of mini activity that they said is based kind of similar to the Secrets of Azeroth event. So definitely go to the anniversary event, check in with guest relations while you're there, maybe dress up as your favorite pet. I don't know. I'm not you. But tons of rewards, and it's just going to be great. It's going to be great.
While that's going on, go ahead, Liz.
One more thing. This is gonna be it. I'm not gonna mention anything else. There is a baby Dreadlord pet that you can collect and also dress up as. So you can get this baby Dreadlord pet and then go to like the pet area at the anniversary event, and then you yourself can be a baby Dreadlord.
So please don't wear your Jaina cosplay first, guys. I don't want to hear it. It's an old joke now. But we should mention really fast, WoW Classic's got its Cataclysm Classic Phase 3. That's going on September 17th, which is next week. So that's the Molten Front. So in essence, it's the lead up to the Firelands. I'm assuming there's actually going to be a Firelands as well.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Seasons of Discovery Phase 5 is now Blackwing Lair, and that's coming out on the 26th. So, yeah, fair amount going on for WoW Classic there. Those are two pretty ambitious things to be launching, especially Blackwing Lair, which, man, at the time, that was a very big deal, that raid. And it was very hard on the computers at that time as well. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Quite frankly, we're long past the point where I'm afraid of Blackwing Lair launching, considering what I've seen in launches lately. The last few launches have been really good, quite frankly. Anyway, I should try to run through some Diablo stuff. There is a lot coming for Diablo Immortal, which I'm going to mention after the Diablo 4 PTR thing, because that's ending tomorrow as we're recording this, which means if you're listening to us live, it's ending tomorrow. If you're listening to it recorded, it either ended today or it ended a couple of days ago. I got on just long enough to play around with the new leveling system. My character was dropped to level 50. Currently, of course, my character is level 100. but your character gets dropped to level 50, then they add another 10 levels, but you also get all your Paragon points back and can start spending them as soon as you hit level 50. I think, Liz, you described it as being very similar to Paragon in Diablo 3.
Yeah, and that your Paragon points are now going to be account-wide. So you hit level 50 and you will get all of your Paragon points that you have already unlocked on your account for that realm type. So there's a different pool for seasonal realms and the eternal realm.
So in actual practice, it's basically the system they already have and the system from Diablo 3 they're like you walk into your room not knowing what's going on in there, you hear a noise, you open it, you turn on a light, and the two of them are mashed together in a sweaty embrace. And you're like, oh God, but then after a while you realize, this is actually kind of hot. That's pretty much how it felt when I finally started to understand, okay, I still have the same boards and choices, I just have them starting at level 50 just like before, and it's completely separate from level progression. It's nothing to do with leveling directly. It's not the new leveling once you hit a certain point. It's now it's a cap system, very much like Diablo 3 was. I think the Diablo 3 analogy is pretty on point for it. It's a lot more sophisticated than Diablo 3's Paragon systems were, or even still are, because they did revamp them a little. But yeah, it's very much its own thing. It kind of feels like the Altar of Rites. If we're talking Diablo 3, do you remember, I don't remember what season it was, but the Altar of Rites was the season mechanic, and then...
and they've left it in.
Yeah. It feels a little like that, but with the standard Paragon progression in terms of how it unfolds. So yeah, I thought once I got used to it, once I actually understood it, I was like, okay, now I can go do some stuff. And then I had to log off, and I didn't get time to go back, and now it's over. So yeah, I had to play the War Within, guys. I had to. I had stuff to get. I had to get my swords better.
All of those changes will be live for all Diablo players with patch 2.0, which will launch with the expansion on October 8th.
Yeah,
so
basically it will
leveling changes coming to the whole game, and it's frankly a whole different game as far as leveling and progression is concerned.
Yeah, there's also difficulty. There's changes we talked about the difficulty system before and so forth, but they're bringing in a new difficulty system where there'll even be torment levels, and you have to use the pit to get to them and so forth. We talked about last week. We're not going to go into too much, but also at the same time, Diablo Immortal had basically, it's got a big content push coming. It's called the Crucible of Justice, and that they put a post about it on the 9th, so 2 days ago.
They announced this at Gamescom. Actually, they were talking about this one.
And basically, it's essentially if you've been playing Diablo Immortal at this point, you've been spending all this time gathering the shards of the World Stone and powering up, and now someone reminds you, hey, wait, those things are corrupted. You haven't been using them to get more powerful, have you? Because that means you've ingested a whole bunch of demonic corruption. And you're like, well, yeah, I kind of have been. For bleep's sake, now we got to purify you. Luckily, we have Tyrael's sword, Eldraine, around, and it's going to purify you so you can be noble enough to wield it. And I guess that requires it to beat you up. I'm not sure on that one, quite frankly. But that's coming. There's going to be Tyrael's Sword of Justice, Eldraine's, which is going to be something that we all get to use in some fashion. I don't know if it's a new legendary. I don't know if we literally all have it, and it's like a mechanical system where it's you have this much purity, so now you can use this much of Eldraine's power. But they also have the Vanguard co-op system coming in, which essentially feels a little bit like a WoW Battleground, then Torghast, and then the Diablo 3 Wailing Nightmare. It's really kind of some kind of souped up Arathi Basin, where you go to these points on the map to complete objectives, and when you get there, there's 5 or 6 mobs that you have to kill, and if you stay there too long, another wave of them will spawn, so you need to kill them fast in order to complete the objective and then move on to another place. And you get stuff like Torghast powers, or if you've done delves similar to the powers you can get in a delve that you use, not in a Adele. You don't get any powers in a delve that I'm aware of, and that would be weird anyway. But I'm not to say she doesn't have powers. I'm sure she's very powerful. But regardless, I'm totally sidetracked on the Adele thing now. I'm sorry. But seriously, there's this whole there can be thing it's similar to right now in Diablo 4 when you're running through a dungeon and you can just stumble upon there's a person on the ground going, please help me, they've stolen my soul, and then you can kill a whole bunch of monsters to try and get his soul fragments back. It's similar to that kind of thing. You can have guardian spirits, fight bosses. stop demon invasions within this Vanguard event, the co-op mode. So it's got a lot of stuff we've seen in other games. It seems pretty ambitious for Diablo Immortal, quite frankly. There's even like difficulty time tiers and objectives that you can complete in different ways. It's not always fighting. And then they put in legendary gems. There's three new ones. Entropic Well, which is a 1-star gem. Cold Confident, which is a 2-star gem. And then Wolfhjort, which I'm thinking is like German for wolf heart, but I'm not 100% sure on that, which is a 5-star gem that actually requires you to find like other gems called resonance gems to power it up. Like if you get more resonance gems, you can effectively unlock more powers for the wolf heart. And there's the Maw of the Deep, Void Spark, Igneous Scorn, Iron Bane, and the Pain Clasp. Because Pain Clasp, that's exactly a Diablo name. Do you know full well that if there's a jewelry store in Diablo, it's literally got names like Pain Clasp for everything? The torture amulet for your wife. Why would I want to give her that? I don't know. Everything's torture. Just use it. So yeah, that's actually a lot. We're getting quite a bit for Diablo Immortal. Diablo Immortal has had a tremendous amount of content pumped out for it. Like it's amazing how much they've had come out for that.
Immortal is a very good game, and I think you're correct in saying that it's there's a lot of sophisticated features coming out in this patch. It has a lot happening all the time. It's added new classes. It's expanded wildly since it was launched. But it's still kind of microtransaction hell. So
yeah, it is.
Super fun Diablo game, but you're also going to hit a power wall unless you spend money.
Yeah, it makes Diablo 4 look reasonable in that Diablo 4, it's all just cosmetic. Whereas in this game, it's straight up player power. Do you want to get stronger? Yeah, buy some gems.
Yeah, I mean, for a while you can get there, but then you get to a point where your main power build is having higher level gems, and that's either grind for 1,000,000 years or pay money. So
it's like the Proclaimer song is in the background. It's like, I would grind 500 hours, and I would grind 500 more, just to be the man who ground 1,000 hours and fall dead at your door, Blizzard, you maniacs. So yeah, I had to stop Diablo Immortal, and I feel bad about it. I was actually enjoying it, but it's like, yeah, no, I can't do this. I do not have the stamina for this grind. I'm sorry, you win. You've defeated me, grind. So yeah, not my favorite. But we've also got Hearthstone to talk about. The traveling travel agency mini set, which went live today, and it's right up there with Wingfinder Raid 2 here. In terms of hard to say.
Except that is actually its real actual name.
Yeah, traveling. So, okay, guys. But what is this miniseries about? Because I couldn't tell you.
It's one of those things. Hearthstone has a really defined cadence in which you've got a new expansion, and then you have a new battleground season, and then you have a new mini set, and we're on the mini set phase. So I really like the mini sets because they are a set of cards that you just pay money and you get them. And that's it. There's no randomness. There's none of that. You pay money and you get the cards that they say you will get. This whole expansion cycle has had kind of a beach theme, which is why we are obviously getting the traveling travel agency. Yeah, we're on a beach vacation, and so clearly we're talking to the traveling travel agency to continue our beach vacation. I think the most notable thing about this mini set are the puns. You have a cash cow that you can play, and when it takes damage, you get a coin. Which, the more you think about that, the more horrible it seems. You're hitting it to get money. There's the workhorse, which is a horse wearing a business suit, and when it dies, yes, I mean it's the best thing about this is the flavor, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and half of the cards are just puns. I mean, they're really pushing this angle hard.
Well, I mean, I personally think that the carnivorous cubicle, that sounds like a little bit right on the nose there.
Yeah, you don't want to go into the carnivorous cubicle. That's dangerous. Just watch out for that.
Well, yeah, so that's Hearthstone's most recent news, and that leaves we can now talk about. Well, go ahead. There
is one more thing that's coming to Hearthstone with this next update, which is that would mean it's already live. Okay, thing coming to Hearthstone, which is a Ragnaros hero skin. And it's not just any hero skin, it's a fancy, super extra hero skin. So you will be playing Ragnaros. Ragnaros has all of these cool animations, like when you kill your opponent, it's not just the usual thing where your opponent explodes and dies. It's like Ragnaros sets the entire board on fire and your opponent melts. When you attack, Ragnaros kind of jumps out and it like swings a hammer. It just has all of these like wild animations, which is cool. I am into it, and it also costs $60, 60 of our American dollars to buy this hero skin. Which, that does kind of feel like it's taken a lesson from Diablo 4, which has a lot of really cool cosmetics that I really like, but all of them cost $20 to $30, and I can't keep buying that.
I'm still feeling kind of lightheaded that you actually said $60 and you meant it.
I did mean it.
It's almost the price of a game.
That is indeed the price of a game. So, Ragnaros skin in Hearthstone should be in the shop now, and I mean, it's cosmetic. Just look at it. It's cosmetic. You don't have to buy it if you don't like it. It's also one of those things. It's like, okay, this is where we're putting our dev resources, because if people pay $60 for Ragnaros, that's where you need to put your dev resources. So, I don't feel great about it, but, also it kind of doesn't impact me. I'm not going to buy it. I do not have 60 American dollars to put towards occasionally playing as Ragnaros. So, yeah, there we are. That's what we got. Ragnaros is, by the way, a shaman. I don't know if Joe has an opinion on that.
It feels weird that he's a shaman, because I don't think he's actually a shaman, but, I mean, whatever. It is what it is.
I mean, he's an elemental.
Yes.
So kind of. He's sort of shaman adjacent, when you could argue.
Okay, I mixed that up. He is a dual class hero skin, and so he can be a shaman or a warrior. You can use the skin for both of those classes. So he's an elemental warrior thing.
Wow. Okay, so he's a mountain thane. Awesome. Sorry, Joe and I were talking, I think yesterday, about how much we both like the mountain thane warrior specs. So it does sound a little bit like that's what the mountain thing kind of feels like. It kind of feels like a shaman warrior, because you thunder everywhere, zapping everything. But at this point, before we essentially call it a day, because we're running low on time, I wanted to mention there's two things coming out from other games. The first is one I want to talk about, and then I'll do the more respectable one. Baldur's Gate 3 has had over 1 million mods installed in the 24-hour period of its recent patch being live. Over 1 million in a day. A little shock, because you know what happened besides that? That was because of it, really? The mod platform that was released doesn't have full unlock for stuff like level editing, but someone already unlocked that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's now a third-party, non-sanctioned addition to this mod that is essentially Neverwinter Nights content creator. So now people can create whole expansions if they want to, and have
which is what we were waiting for.
Yeah, but we only had to wait 7 hours. That's,
to be fair, I'm surprised it took 7 hours.
I'm not, just because of how big the code they had to go through was. At this point, I think it would be easier to get into NORAD.
Yeah, but you're operating under the assumption that this is the first time people have started digging into the code of Baldur's Gate.
I don't know that I am. I still think it's kind of impressive that they managed it that fast.
Also, and I want to say that this is official support. That doesn't mean that mods have not already existed for it. As a matter of fact, mods existed for Baldur's Gate 3 day one of release, if not before that, through Nexus mods.
Oh yeah, I know. I've got some.
But I was going to say, a lot of the stuff, like the level editor, were already there. I can't imagine it was that hard for somebody to take that and say, well, let's get this on the official platform. Done. Like, I can honestly see it. And I think that maybe it's just from a different perspective. It just doesn't surprise me.
But yeah, that's pretty amazing, that just the sheer number of people who got mods within a day. I honestly feel like, as some people have pointed out, since we know Larian's not going to be doing any more, like this one more patch, and that's probably going to be it, maybe two, because they might pull a CD Projekt Red and keep releasing small patches for a little while just to mess with us. But at any rate, they're pretty much done. as you know, Larian's not going to be releasing any more real content. But now they've basically, on their way out the door, they've basically made it possible for everybody to make content. So yeah, that's kind of wild. We could be seeing people. This could be like the fallout of the Bethesda fallouts in terms of its longevity. We could be seeing Baldur's Gate 3 mods going into the 2030s. So that's pretty amazing to me. But also, the PlayStation 5 Pro isn't announced. It's got a November 9 release date. It's going to cost $700 US, and it's going to have better graphics at higher frames per second, which is something people have talked about wanting for a while. I personally think anything above 60 frames per second is wasted on me. So I don't care about that. But for people who do like that kind of thing, this pushes it further along the rides to being actual competition for a gaming PC. $700 is plus tax is a lot of money to spend on a console. You're getting to the point where you could build a computer very easily with the money you're spending on your console.
I mean, basically this is blending, fidelity gaming modes with performance gaming modes. So you'll be able to get the higher fidelity graphics with the higher frame per second performance, which, I mean, that's great. I don't know how often I would really appreciate that, because when I'm playing a game and I need the high frame rate, chances are I'm maybe not sitting still and looking at all of those details. So I don't know. I don't know if I would appreciate this. I do know that I would not appreciate it $700 worth. One other thing I will note is that this is a no disc version. They at least showed off a version that did not include a disc drive. And also, there was a note that says the vertical stand is sold separately. So I'm like, you're charging $700. You don't include a stand, and it doesn't have a disc drive. I mean, when I bought my original PlayStation 5, I paid $500 with a disc drive, which was an upcharge. So this seems like a very high price point, considering what you're getting. Is it better? Sure. Is it that much better? Yeah.
To throw it into perspective, like, the GPU is better than the PS5. Okay, that doesn't really say a whole lot. They're saying it's 67% more. Cool. No, that doesn't really tell me anything. Memory is 28% faster. Okay, so that means they went from DDR4 to DDR5. Not really that big of an overall jump. They said it's going to be 45% faster rendering for gameplay. Yeah, of course. It's got more modern technology inside of it. It's going to have advanced ray tracing. Nobody's going to notice the difference unless you're running on an 8K TV or something with like incredibly stupidly high fidelity. You're not going to notice the difference between regular ray tracing and this.
It also will support 8K, but then the problem with supporting 8K is how many games support 8K? How many people have an 8K display to put that sort of thing on? It's low. It's very low.
But it's funny you should mention that because it's got AI-driven upscaling. So
yay!
Yeah, it'll just do that for spectral super resolution, which is fancy speak for we make picture bigger. I'm not impressed with this. I don't know who the target audience is, especially at $700. Like, the PlayStation 5 was a hot commodity. It came out at like really the height of the pandemic and shortages, and people were hunting for it because, well, they were either trying to get a quick turnover and flip it, or they were, looking for something to do during the middle of the pandemic. But I don't know who their target audience is. In fact, I don't know who the target audience is anymore for most pro consoles, because as Matt pointed out, and I think this is a very good point with this, you're breaching into lower end gaming PC, which already has better stats or absolutely better hardware and a better upgrade path than this. And while most computers don't come with a disk drive, guess what? You can buy one and plug it in, and it works. So all those old games, you can play them. You want to watch DVDs on it, Blu-ray on it, you can, because you can just plug it in. Like, this is getting into weird space. I think this might be more geared towards virtual reality people. Because
they are making a VR headset. That's true. I forgot.
Yeah, they have a VR headset.
They have a VR headset.
They're making the new one. So, and Xbox is making one as well. So
the PlayStation one's already out. It's been out.
But they're doing a new one. Like, literally, I think there was an announcement yesterday. They're going to be taking the one that they have and making a new version to go along with this.
Are I did not see that. Interesting.
Okay, I'm pretty positive I saw it. Keep in mind, I might have seen it on YouTube, so who knows? Maybe somebody was lying.
Because
they won't do that.
Because the
but
VR,
regardless,
the VR2,
both have them.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the VR2 just came out not too long ago. Regardless, but I think this is more geared towards virtual reality players, which their entire catalog is online, and things like small bumps in memory do make a huge difference. As far as me, I'm going to stick with my regular PS5. I'm good.
Yeah, I just don't understand the huge price bump because I usually feel like these mid generation consoles usually come up and they have a small stat bump, and they usually come in at that same price point of the original console. And this is a lot higher because for a driveless one, that the ones with drives used to cost $100 more. This costs $200 more than my PlayStation 5 that came with a disc drive. So it's like, I'm not the target audience. I know that, but
yeah, absolutely. It definitely drives home to me that this is not for me.
But
if I had $800 to throw around, I'd probably try to build my own PC.
And that's what I'm like. That's my thought. Like I'm in like my PC's getting a little bit older. I'm looking at it. I'd like to upgrade. I'm like a couple generations behind on graphics cards. I'd like to get a new one. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at them right now, and I was actually pricing them out. And it's like, okay, for me to get everything I want, it's probably going to be a couple grand. Okay, I can deal with that. But I can also justify that because, one, I'm going to have it for years. Two, when new components come out, for the most part, I can just buy them and put them in. And it has a wider range of capability or compatibility. And I have the consoles in the PlayStation. I think Nintendo got it right? Like, I think with the Switch, it was like the perfect thing because they were like, we're not going to try to be an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 or a PC. Mm-hmm. We're just going to be something fun that people can grab. And that's what gaming, I think, has lost in the console like realm over the last few years. Is forgetting that gaming's supposed to be fun. It's not just supposed to be pushing this bleeding edge technology at the highest price point possible. And the funny thing is, I'm curious how much money they're losing on the consoles at $700 because I know dang well there's a precedent for that with a bunch of the consoles that have come out in the past.
Oh, Xbox. The Xbox does not make money on the console, and they've admitted it. It's nothing to do with the console.
Subscription
the thing
and games.
That they make money off of is Game Pass.
Yeah.
The various flavors of Game Pass are where their money is, and that because it creates the ability to not just that, it allows you to use the Xbox or a PC or both, and as a result, you spend say $25 a month because you get to get like the Game Pass Ultimate. I think you can basically download on any game that's on Game Pass to either PC or Xbox, and that's a big deal. That's a kind of thing that's worth $20 a month to people. Whereas, you think that's not a big deal, but that's $200 a year and you're getting that. It's reliable. You'll be getting that $200 from them for a service. So that's not like you have to create a product and give it to them. You create the service and then this service is evergreen. It pays for itself. I don't know where PlayStation is going with this. I don't know what I know that they do have. What is their current, it's not the Oculus Rift, that's a different system. But what's the PlayStation VR headset called?
PSVR 2.
Yeah, that has been out for a bit. It just came out this year, you said?
I think it was either this year or the end of last year.
Yeah, I remember the original VR because that's what most people are playing Half-Life Alyx on. I do think that you've probably onto something with that. But regardless, we don't have time for any of our questions because literally everything happened today. Guys, seriously, it's been crazy since the expansion came out. Yeah, oh wow, just so much stuff. I'm looking back at this list, my God. And Liz, you remember the thing we said we were going to do right after?
Liz and I already have a plan for it. We're good.
Yeah, well,
just going to have to insert it, I guess. Do you still want to do it here just so people know who it is who are listening to the stream?
Yeah, Joe, you good?
Go for it.
So we are doing a Patreon push right now to try and get up to about $4,500 would be good. We are running close to $4,000 right now, and that's kind of the point at which things get a little iffy. We get budget gets a little questionable, and what we're trying to do is produce more content. If you've been on the site lately, you see that we've been doing tons of guides on the War Within. We're already prepping for Diablo 4: Vessel of Hatred. We are going to be doing a lot of extra podcasts this month. I hope you like podcasts because we got podcasts. We are doing more tabletop podcasts, which I'm very excited about. We are going to be doing some Dragon Age Lore Watch podcasts, which, the three of us have to get together and figure out when we're going to do those. But we're doing them. We are also going to have a special bonus edition Blizzard Watch podcast later this month. I don't want to spoil it, but it's going to be good. And so we're trying to up all of the content we're doing. And support from you guys really helps us out. That's what makes all of this possible. We could not do this without you. Advertising money helps keep the site going. But it's you guys. You are why we are here. And you are the bulk of the support of the site. So I do want to thank some people who have joined up since last week when I first told you that we're trying to keep the site going with a little extra support from y'all. I want to thank Lars and Patrick P, who subscribed at $1, which I know $1 sounds like it's nothing, but it adds up. If you have $1, it does help. It really does. Thank you. I appreciate it. And we also got David, Patrick A, Rebecca, Mike K, all pledged at $5. That gives ad-free access to the site. That gives early access to our podcast, plus the crazy rambling pre-shows we do every week. I think they're fun. You may have mixed feelings, but that's what they are. It's a little extra stuff. Sometimes behind the scenes stuff, which I think y'all like. We also had Deb upgraded her pledge to $5. That is awesome. Thank you so much. And we had Tony and Thomas pledging at $10. That helps so much when you guys can support us every month. It keeps us here. And we also had some pledges back in August that I never called out, but I appreciate you guys. Matt P and Mike W both pledged in August. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is all of you, our listeners, that keep the site going and let us do what we're doing. We want to do more of what we're doing because it is super fun. We enjoy doing it. And I hope you enjoy us doing it. If you do, if you can throw a few dollars on Patreon, it really helps. If you can't, I totally understand it. And keep listening. Listening helps. Reading the site helps. And I'm just glad y'all are here. Thank you so much.
And friends, building off of that, I'm not going to do the Patreon thing because Liz already did. But this is a reminder that there are perks as well as, everything else she said. If you have questions for this or any of our podcasts, you can go ahead and send those in. If you're a Patreon subscriber, we tend to look there first. You can send those in directly through Patreon, or we have a channel set aside specifically for you on our Discord server. It's the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel. It's a little extra way of saying thank you for helping us keep the lights on. If you can't support us on Patreon, we understand. If you are listening to us on any of the multiple streaming platforms, that helps. If you're visiting the site, that helps as well. But you can also send us questions. You can also send those in through Discord. We have a Q and Podcast Questions channel set aside specifically for, that particular topic. And then we have a email where you can send those in as well, which is podcast@blizzardwatch.com. The only thing we ask is that regardless of how you contact us or send those in, give us any special pronunciations for your name and make sure you clarify what show it's for. I promise you, we will get to them. I swear.
Alrighty. Luckily, I bit my tongue, so this is going to be a heck of an entrance. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you to Joe and Liz for being here and all they do for the site and for this show. And thanks to literally all of you for making it all possible. We'll be back next week.